Today we're retrofitting a door into an existing opening. It's not something that a lot of people try and take on. It can be very tedious, takes a lot of adjustments, but we're gonna try and modernize this house. This house was built in probably 1901-ish. All original door. We're gonna fit a new slab here. First thing we did was remove the doors, made sure our measurements were good. This was a French door, so it's got hinges on both sides. We're gonna be patching one side and going to a single door. First step we did was to make sure the door fit. Then we want to replace this old oak threshold. We need something more adjustable, something more modern that's going to have a good weather seal to our new sweep on the door. So we're going to be going to a modern threshold. What we did was we cut back the floor in order to accept it for the depth. We've cut this to size. We're not going to mount it yet because we're going to do all of our patchwork first so we keep this nice and clean and pristine. Later, we'll level this and attach this to the ground, and then we'll check our door for our dimensions. So the next step we want to do is we want to patch all of these where the hinges were, anywhere that we're not going to be putting new hinges. Now, we could just use a filler, which we are going to use, but putting too much of this in there is going to cause these to crack out over time. The best method is to do what's called a Dutchman. The Dutchman is basically a piece of wood that we've fit into the mortise where the hinges were. We're going to glue the back side of this using a wood glue, and we're going to tack this in there with nails. That's going to give us a good backer for our filler. We're going to use a 2-part wood epoxy, so it's very durable. It's going to have a short work time, but it's going to allow us to keep moving quickly. It can be shaped with the chisel to find the shape that you're trying to fit here on the jamb, and then finish sanded. You'll never even know that there was a patch there. I make this control cut, and then I make sure that I don't cut past this control cut. Nothing's gonna splinter past it. Make sure you trust the guy holding the level. Kind of just pull away from the surface. You won't get any on the top. So we've got our jamb all patched now. We've bondoed. We've done our Dutchmans. You can take a look over here. It needs another coat of paint, but they're virtually gone. So now we're ready to start mortising our hinges. We've dry fit our door, checked our height, looked at square, looked at any adjustments we want to make, took the door back out, cut the bottom. So now he's ready to mortise the hinges. A nice clean way to do this on an older building, you can't really fit a router in there well. So what we've done is we've drilled where we want the hinge. We've marked it all out first. Now he's got the hinge mounted. It gives him a nice clean place to make that relief cut, which is going to control where he chisels out to prevent any kind of blowouts. So he'll screw this in, he'll mark it with a knife, very nice, then he'll remove it and start chiseling. Now we've got our door set. We've mortised our hinges nice and flush. You'll notice that I've left out the inner second to the top because it's the furthest into the jamb screw. These screws, when I'm finished adjusting, I'm going to add long screws that are going to go back into the framing to carry the weight of this door. So we've got the door hung, the threshold set. So this is an adjustable threshold. These screws will raise and lower this threshold to make it tighter or looser to the sweep and apply to the bottom of the door. If you follow me inside, we can take a look at what the adjustments are we need to make. So at this point, we want to look at what we call the reveals, or the space between the door and the jamb. As you look here, you can see we're probably about 1/4 inch at the top, and we're tapering down. Not unusual for a house of this age. So it comes down and tapers to about 1/8 of an inch. When we look over this side, we are looking nice and straight and plumb. You can see the daylight coming through to kind of give you an indication. Everything's nice and true on this side, but unfortunately we need to adjust it. If we were able to look at the top, you would also notice that the strike side is tighter than the hinge side, which is in our favor because we need to close this gap, which is going to open that upper gap. The way to go about this is really to shim or pack the hinge. Any kind of a solid, clear plastic, this is great. It's just packaging from like toys or something like that. Cut it to the size of your hinge. We're gonna loosen the screws and we're gonna pack it, pushing the door over just enough to where we want. And we'll probably stack, because this is thin, we'll probably stack 2. So we're gonna add 1 to the bottom, 1 to hit this one, and then we're probably gonna taper it and put 2 and maybe even 3 up here to cock the door and get it where we want it. We're sitting good on our threshold, but we still have to adjust. So as we come down, it will get tighter on this side of the threshold, and we'll do that final adjustment later. All right, so now we have the door all adjusted the way we want. So we have packed, like I said before, we did 2 here, 2 here, 3, and we actually wound up using 4 up here. So now you can see the reveal over this side has evened out. So we've got a nice uniform spacing, which has also given us more clearance at the head. It's very even here. You're gonna have to hide and give and take somewhere with a project like this. So it's very even. It gets a little tighter on the hinge side. I'd rather have the strike side nice and straight. This is where the operation takes place, where your hardware goes, your security. So our next step would be to determine where the homeowner would like to have their hardware. A standard height would be 36 inches from the finished floor. With a door this large in height, this is an 8-foot tall door. We may want to go a little bit higher to keep the point of security closer to center. Anywhere between 36 and 40 is going to be within code. And that's going to be the center of our knob or handle set. And then the standard for the 2 spacing for the deadbolt is going to be a 5.5 inch. You also need to think about determining your back set, which would be from the door edge back to the center hole that we're going to drill. 2 standards, 2 3/8, 2 3/4. Most modern hardware is adjustable, but check, because a lot of them aren't. So you'll need to check and make sure your back set, as well as making sure you have clearance for your escutcheon to any kind of raised molding that your door might have. Ishan is prepping the door. He's protecting the door with some tape. We're going to mark out where we're going to bore and drill the holes for the door, for the hardware. In this case, because it's an old house, even though this is not really that unique of a molding, we thought it would be good to reuse it. So this is the stop that goes against your door and stops your door when you swing closed. Originally, it had no weather stripping. The original door had what was called a sprung bronze weather stripping, made out of a metal bronze or copper that would push against the edge of the door. The problem with that was doors move, everything does. Expansion, contraction, getting tighter into that weather stripping, as well as condensation can take place when cold air meets it from the warm air inside. You might get water droplets and things that happen on that. So a modern weather stripping is compression weather stripping. This particular brand is called Q-Lon. You can see it's kind of a foam-filled nylon. So it's meant to compress against the face of the door and stop airflow. In order to use this, what we've done is we've created a rabbet or a kerf in the back edge of this molding by using a table saw. And what that's going to allow us to do is this is going to go back once we have the door locked and decide where we want it. This weather stripping slides very nicely into that kerf and hold in place and kind of conceal behind the stop very nicely. The door will press against it, giving you a nice weather seal.